Parker Schnabel thought he'd seen it all, but nothing could prepare him for the most unbelievable gold discovery of his life. It all started with a mysterious tip from an old prospector who had once worked in the Klondike. The prospector spoke of a forgotten mine, abandoned in the 1980s and hidden deep in the unforgiving Yukon wilderness. What caught Parker's attention wasn't just the mine's mysterious past. It was the fact that the operation had shut down abruptly and never fully tapped into its potential. At first, it seemed like just another local legend, a story of riches that had somehow slipped through the cracks of history. But when Parker started digging deeper, something didn't add up. There were no official records of the mine ever being fully worked. The operation had mysteriously stopped, leaving behind a treasure trove of gold undisturbed for decades. Could it be true? Was there really a fortune waiting to be unearthed? Or was it all just another wild goose chase? This wasn't just a chance for Parker to find gold. It was a chance to uncover one of the biggest mining mysteries of the century. But he had no idea what he was about to face. Parker and his crew embarked on the search, diving into old records, poring over maps, and scouring the rugged wilderness for any trace of the mine. Satellite images revealed faint signs of human activity, buried beneath years of permafrost and dense underbrush. But when they finally reached the site, they were stunned. The mine, left abandoned for decades, looked like it had been frozen in time. Rusting machinery, half-constructed conveyor belts, and a long-forgotten wash plant were still standing tall in the cold Yukon air. But it was the mine's office that chilled Parker to the core. Papers were scattered across the desk, as if someone had just walked away and never looked back. What had really happened here? Why did they leave everything behind? As Parker continued to investigate, he uncovered an unsettling secret. The mine had only ever reported a fraction of the gold it had been pulling from the ground. A shipment of gold bars, worth over $200 million in the 1980s, had mysteriously disappeared, and no one ever knew what happened to it. Adjusted for today's gold prices, that's more than $1 billion worth of treasure that could still be sitting underground. Could the gold still be there? Was this long-forgotten mine hiding a fortune waiting to be rediscovered? The answers were buried deep, and finding them wouldn't be easy. Parker's toughest challenge was about to begin. The Yukon's wilderness is harsh, and if there's gold hiding in this mine, he wouldn't be the only one searching for it. This was no ordinary hunt. It was a journey into the heart of the Klondike, where the past and present collide, and every corner could reveal a hidden treasure. Don't miss the adventure. Hit like, share this incredible story with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for the latest updates on Parker's biggest gold discovery yet. After days of careful research, Parker and his team set out to locate the forgotten mine. Using a combination of historical satellite imagery and modern topographical scans, the Yukon terrain is unforgiving. Thick overgrowth, permafrost-covered ground, and remote landscapes make access nearly impossible. Even with modern GPS technology, the dense wilderness has hidden this place from sight for decades. When they finally reach the site, what they find is nothing short of eerie. Rusted conveyor belts stretch across the clearing, remnants of a fully operational mining system frozen in time. Abandoned sluice boxes, now covered in moss and dirt, hint at the scale of production that once took place here. A massive wash plant sits in complete disrepair, its structure barely holding up after years of exposure to the elements. Yet what's most unsettling is how everything seems to have been left in a hurry. Equipment remains half-assembled, as if workers had intended to return the next day. Fuel barrels, some still nearly full, sit undisturbed, something unheard of in mining operations, where fuel is one of the most valuable resources. As Parker steps into the old office, he notices that even the paperwork has remained untouched. Pages of production logs, exploration reports, and geological assessments are scattered across a desk, covered in dust, but otherwise intact. The last recorded entries show something unexpected. High gold yields just before operations mysteriously stopped. There's no mention of a depletion in resources, no indication that the mine had run out of gold. Instead, the final log entries end abruptly, leaving Parker with more questions than answers. Why was such a productive mine suddenly abandoned? Why is there no record of what happened to the workers or the company that ran it? The deeper they dig, the more unsettling the situation becomes. Old blueprints suggest there were plans for an expansion before everything came to a halt. Geological surveys from the time show high concentrations of gold-bearing material still left in the ground. Yet, despite all this, no known reports of a shutdown, disaster, or government intervention exist. Everything points to one possibility. Whoever left this mine did so unexpectedly and without explanation. As Parker and his team prepare to investigate further, one thing is clear. Whatever happened here, it wasn't a normal shutdown, and if the data is correct, the gold that was left behind could be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. Parker and his team dive deep into historical archives, searching for any records that could explain the mine's abrupt shutdown. What they find is beyond anything they expected. The official reports from the 1980s show the company mined a significant amount of gold, but the declared numbers don't add up. Financial statements indicate that only a fraction of the total gold extracted was ever officially recorded before the operation mysteriously ceased. There is no clear documentation on where the rest of the gold went. Then, Parker stumbles upon a long-buried rumor, one that had been whispered among old miners but never confirmed. Some former workers claim that in the final days before the shutdown, the company had secretly stockpiled a massive gold reserve on site. The reason? Financial collapse. At the time, gold prices were unstable, and the company was struggling to keep operations afloat. Some believe the owners planned to smuggle the gold out later, bypassing taxation and avoiding bankruptcy. But something went wrong. The mine shut down overnight, and the gold, estimated at over $200 million back then, was never recovered. Adjusted for inflation, that missing shipment would be worth over $1 billion today. As Parker pieces the puzzle together, another question arises. If the gold was hidden, why wasn't it retrieved? Was it because of legal trouble, natural disasters, or something else entirely? The deeper he digs, the stranger the story becomes. Some say the gold was buried under collapsed tunnels. Others claim it was hidden in a secret chamber deep within the mine. And then there are those who believe something far more sinister happened, something that forced the company to abandon everything overnight. The team now faces an incredible possibility. If the missing gold was never removed, it could still be sitting beneath the abandoned mine, waiting to be found. But uncovering it won't be easy. The mine has been sealed off for decades, hidden beneath layers of permafrost and overgrowth. And if the rumors are true, the gold may be buried in one of the most dangerous, unstable sections of the site. For Parker, this isn't just another mining expedition. This is a billion-dollar mystery, one that could lead to the greatest gold discovery of his career. But before they can even think about extraction, they have to find proof that the gold is still there. That means searching for more records, tracking down former workers, and scanning every inch of the site for clues. Time is ticking, and every new piece of information makes the story even more unbelievable. Could Parker really be standing on top of a hidden fortune? Or is this just another mining legend that will lead to nothing? The only way to find out is to keep digging, both through history and through the frozen ground of the Yukon. As Parker's team begins the painstaking process of clearing out the mine entrance, they quickly realize that time and nature have done their best to keep its secrets buried. The harsh Yukon winter has sealed large sections of the underground tunnels with layers of thick ice, making access nearly impossible without heavy-duty equipment. The permafrost, which has gripped the mine for decades, is like concrete, unyielding and treacherous. But breaking through it is only the beginning of their troubles. The cold is relentless. Even with the best machinery, the extreme temperatures take their toll. Hydraulic systems freeze, engines refuse to start, and metal components become brittle, snapping under stress. Every hour lost to mechanical failure is an hour closer to winter, locking the mine down completely. And Parker knows they are racing against nature itself. Fuel becomes a major concern. Transporting it to such a remote location is costly and slow, and with machinery running around the clock, their reserves dwindle faster than expected. Then, the ground beneath them starts fighting back. As the crew digs deeper, the instability of the terrain becomes clear. Cave-ins occur without warning, swallowing sections of their work site and forcing them to reinforce tunnel walls at every turn. Decades of abandonment have made the structure unpredictable. Some areas are barely holding together, requiring careful excavation and specialized support teams to prevent disasters. One wrong move could trigger a collapse that buries everything, including Parker's hopes of uncovering the lost gold. But the dangers aren't just physical. As word of Parker's expedition spreads, locals begin to share ominous warnings. Some claim that others have tried searching for the mine before, only to disappear without a trace. Old stories of unexplained accidents and mysterious occurrences begin surfacing. Some believe the mine is cursed, that something unnatural has been keeping the gold hidden all these years. Parker, a man of logic, doesn't believe in superstitions, but even he can't ignore the eerie history surrounding the site. Then, a troubling discovery shakes the team. Hidden deep in the abandoned offices, they uncover an old logbook belonging to the mine's last foreman. The final entries are rushed, scrawled in a shaky hand. Mentions of missing workers, strange noises in the tunnels, and an abrupt order to shut everything down suggest that something more than financial trouble forced the mine's closure. The last page ends with a chilling note. "We should have left sooner. There's something down here, and it doesn't want to be found." Despite the growing unease, Parker pushes forward. The risks are real, but so is the potential reward. He knows they are close. Too close to turn back now. But with every step deeper into the mine, one thing becomes clear. They aren't just fighting the elements. They're up against something much bigger and much more dangerous than they ever expected. After weeks of relentless work, battling the elements in the mine's treacherous terrain, Parker and his team finally make a breakthrough, one that changes everything. While studying old blueprints and comparing them with the mine's actual layout, they notice a discrepancy. There's an entire section that doesn't match up. The historical maps make no mention of it, and yet something is clearly there. Curious and cautious, Parker brings in ground-penetrating radar to scan the area. What they find sends a wave of excitement through the crew. A large metallic object, buried deep beneath the collapsed tunnels. It's unlike anything else in the mine, and its sheer size suggests it's not just another piece of abandoned equipment. Could this be the key to unlocking the mine's billion-dollar mystery? Determined to find out, the crew shifts their focus entirely to this hidden shaft. Clearing the debris is no easy task. The rock is tightly packed, hardened by years of pressure, and every inch must be carefully excavated to prevent further collapse. Some areas are so unstable that they have to reinforce the walls with steel beams before proceeding. The process is slow, grueling, and mentally exhausting. The deeper they go, the stronger the feeling that they're about to uncover something massive. Then, after days of painstaking work, a breakthrough, the team uncovers what appears to be a man-made structure, a reinforced wall, its edges sealed tight with industrial bolts. It's unlike anything they've seen in the rest of the mine. This wasn't just another storage area or an abandoned chamber. Someone built this with the intent to keep something inside. As they clear more debris, the full picture emerges. It's a vault, a massive reinforced steel vault embedded deep within the mine's structure. The doors are thick, industrial grade, and locked with a mechanism that looks far too sophisticated for a simple gold mining operation. Whoever sealed this vault didn't just want to store something. They wanted to make sure no one ever got inside again. The crew stands in stunned silence, the weight of the moment sinking in. If the old records and rumors are true, this could be the very place where the missing gold shipment was hidden. A fortune that vanished without a trace, left buried beneath the Yukon for decades. As the dust settles from the final excavation, Parker and his team find themselves standing before the vault's massive steel doors. It's a moment thick with anticipation. For weeks, they have battled against the unforgiving Yukon terrain, pushing their limits through brutal conditions, equipment failures, and the ever-present uncertainty of whether this long-lost treasure was real or just a myth. Now, with their floodlights illuminating the thick rusted bolts and the untouched lock mechanism, the answer is just inches away. The vault isn't easy to open. It was built to last, reinforced with industrial-grade steel that has stood untouched for decades. Parker brings in an expert safecracker, someone who has experience with historical vaults. But even with the right tools, the process takes hours. Sparks fly as they cut through the reinforced locking system, the metal resisting every attempt to breach it. The tension in the air is suffocating. What if it's empty? What if the rumors were nothing more than stories passed down through generations? But Parker knows better. There's a reason someone went to such lengths to hide whatever's inside. Then, finally, with an agonizing groan, the heavy doors swing open. A rush of stale air escapes, carrying with it the scent of untouched history. As their flashlights cut through the darkness, the first thing they see is gold, stacks of it, dust-covered but unmistakably real, perfectly preserved bars, their dull surfaces barely concealing the immense wealth they hold. It's a sight that leaves the entire crew speechless. The lost fortune of the Klondike, untouched for decades, hidden beneath layers of secrecy and time. As Parker steps inside, he realizes this isn't just a random hoard of gold. This was deliberately hidden. In the far corner of the vault, they uncover a stash of raw gold nuggets, still unprocessed, just as they were when they came out of the ground. It's a sign that the operation was abruptly halted, leaving behind untold riches that were never sent out of the mine. But why? Then they find something even more valuable than the gold itself: handwritten logs and ledgers, old leather-bound books filled with notes, calculations, and records of secret mining operations that were never reported to the government. These documents tell a story of a mining company that discovered something far more valuable than they were willing to declare. Instead of reporting their full gold yields, they hid an enormous portion of their findings, stockpiling wealth in secret while keeping authorities in the dark. As experts begin to assess the find, the estimates are staggering. The total value of the gold, adjusted for inflation, surpasses $1.2 billion, making it one of the largest lost fortunes ever found in the Klondike's long and storied history. But the biggest question remains: who knew about this? And more importantly, who might still be looking for it? Word of Parker's discovery spreads like wildfire, and with it comes a storm of legal battles, unexpected enemies, and high-stakes negotiations that could jeopardize everything. What began as a forgotten treasure buried in the frozen Yukon has now become the center of a heated dispute, drawing in corporate mining giants, government officials, and opportunists who all want their share. Parker, who risked everything to uncover the lost fortune, now finds himself in a fight far more complex than digging through permafrost, one that takes place in courtrooms, boardrooms, and even in the shadows. The first wave of trouble comes from the local government, which immediately steps in to assess the legal status of the find. According to outdated land records, the mine was once owned by a now-defunct company that disappeared under suspicious circumstances. But with no clear record of ownership, the question remains, who legally owns the gold? Some officials argue that any unclaimed natural resources on abandoned land should default to government control. Others insist that since Parker discovered it and proved it was never officially extracted, it should be his. But powerful mining corporations, ones with deep political ties, begin lobbying for a legal loophole that could take everything away from him. Then comes the corporate interest. Some of the biggest names in the gold mining industry, rival companies that have eyed Parker's success with envy, see an opportunity. They argue that the land itself was once registered under private ownership, which means Parker may have unknowingly trespassed on corporate-controlled territory. Their lawyers claim that even though the mine was abandoned, the buried gold still legally belongs to the original corporation, or its successors. These companies, backed by massive financial resources, begin filing lawsuits aimed at forcing Parker to either surrender the find or split it with them. But the most dangerous threat isn't in the courts. It's on the ground. The Yukon is known for its lawless past, and that history isn't entirely gone. Parker's team begins noticing strange activity, drones hovering over their operation, unknown vehicles parked at a distance, and even break-ins at their storage sites. It's clear that someone is watching them, possibly waiting for the right moment to take what they found by force. The missing gold had remained hidden for a reason. And now that it's out in the open, those with secrets to keep may not be willing to let Parker walk away with it so easily. As the tension escalates, Parker realizes that he's not just fighting for the gold, he's fighting for his own safety. Armed security becomes necessary, and trust becomes a rare commodity. Every negotiation, every legal battle, and every encounter carries a risk. If he wins, he secures one of the most legendary gold discoveries in history. If he loses, he could walk away with nothing, or worse, with everything on the line. One question looms over Parker's head. Was uncovering this treasure a victory, or did he just step into the most dangerous fight of his life? Parker sat in his cabin, staring at the dim glow of his laptop screen. The numbers on the reports in front of him were staggering. Over $1.2 billion in recovered gold, with even more potentially buried deeper within the mine. The discovery had changed everything, but it had also unleashed a storm of chaos. The legal battle had been fierce. Mining corporations, local officials, and even international interests were scrambling for a piece of the fortune. Some claimed that the gold belonged to the company that had abandoned the mine decades ago. Others argued that since it had never been officially claimed, it was now government property. Parker had spent months negotiating with his legal team, but there was no easy answer. Through careful deals and legal maneuvering, Parker managed to secure a significant share of the recovered gold. It wasn't the full amount, but it was still a life-changing sum. However, something far more valuable than money was gnawing at him. the possibility of even more gold hidden beneath the mine's deepest layers. The new technology scans had revealed something shocking. Underground cavities deeper than anyone had expected, showing dense mineral deposits far beyond the known dig sites. Parker was left with an impossible decision: take his wealth and walk away forever, or risk everything on one final excavation. If he left now, he would be set for life. He could expand his operations, invest in cutting-edge mining technology, and secure his family's future for generations. But the thrill of discovery, the same fire that had driven him into mining as a teenager, wouldn't let him walk away so easily. Parker assembled his team one final time. He laid out the risks: unstable tunnels, freezing conditions, and the sheer unknown dangers of digging deeper into a mine that had already swallowed its secrets for decades. But he also explained the potential reward: a second hidden vault, a deeper gold vein, and a legacy that could redefine Klondike history. With the support of his team, Parker made his final decision. They would go deeper. A massive new excavation project was launched, bringing in advanced drilling rigs and reinforcement crews. The operation would take months, if not years, to complete. But Parker wasn't afraid of the long road ahead. The gold he had already secured would fund this ultimate gamble, ensuring that he wouldn't lose everything if the deeper deposit turned out to be a myth. As the first drills roared to life and the earth trembled under the weight of human ambition, Parker knew one thing for certain: this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about history, perseverance, and proving that no mystery stays buried forever. And this time, he wasn't leaving until he had uncovered it all.